This is your disclaimer. This is a true crime video. Its contents might be triggering for some people. This is a case surrounding a missing girl, and after I work through the timeline I have compiled from news sources and interviews, as well as body cam footage, I'll be diving into a few of the theories floating around. And if this is not a video that sounds like it would be for you, please don't watch it. Also, this video is just me working through what I've found on the internet. Not all of what I say is absolute fact. Some of it is my opinion, some of it is alleged, some of it is other people's opinions. Just don't sue me, because I'm not saying that anything is true. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Thumbs up, okay. Also, if you want to thumbs up the video, that would be cool. Gabrielle, more commonly known as Gabby Petito, was born March 19th, 1999, which means she's 22 years old. She and her childhood sweetheart, Brian Laundrie, decided to go across the country in their van. They converted it into a camper. It seemed to be Gabby's dream to turn her van life adventure into a career for herself. Unfortunately, from what I was able to find, and from what I read, she was only able to upload a single video to her YouTube channel before she went missing. She was, however, pretty consistent, again, from what I saw, on her Instagram. I've been through her Instagram. She seemed genuinely happy with her choice to discover the world with her fiancé, posting smiling pictures of herself and him fairly frequently. Honestly, it was eerie to go through, especially since I started really looking into this case by watching the 2-hour body cam footage released by the police. The Moab police in Utah. You see, Gabby uploaded her first video, a video full of images of herself and Brian, smiling, enjoying each other's company, on August 19th. And they were pulled over just a few days earlier on August 12th. The body cam footage shows Officer Robbins approaching the van with both Brian and Gabby inside. She's crying, absolutely hysterical. Girl can't get a word out without practically hyperventilating. While Brian is cool as a cucumber. The officer asks Gabby to exit the car so he can get her alone and see if she's okay. She's not. She's crying, hyperventilating. She continues to cry, hyperventilate all throughout this footage, right? Okay. She says pretty much immediately that she's been trying to start a vlog and that he, her fiancé, love of her life, doesn't believe that she can do it. That's what they started fighting about. What eventually led to them getting pulled over. See, she was pushing and slapping at his arms, all that good shit, and he wound up swerving and going over a curb. Whatever, doesn't really matter. The officer lets her have a minute to breathe by herself, sets her up in his car, while he goes over and talks to the most concerned and loving boyfriend on the planet, who says, repeatedly, he says it, that he loves her. Definitely not the type of guy you would think would refuse to help in a police investigation about her, being missing. Yeah, well, getting ahead of myself, sorry, spoilers. Anyway, the officer asks him, what's up? He says they were having a fight earlier that morning because he was dirty. He didn't want to stay at the coffee shop they were at. They'd been there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. He wanted to go somewhere. They needed water, blah, blah, blah. But this pushes them into an even bigger fight. He says he tried keeping himself distant from her. This is also where he makes a point to say he had the keys in his hand. He didn't have a phone. He doesn't have a phone. He doesn't want her to get into the car, drive away, because he doesn't have a phone and he doesn't want to be abandoned, right? Brian Laundrie does not have a phone. The police officers they're just like, all right, fine. We got witnesses that saw you at a coffee shop or a convenience store. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. There's conflicting, whatever. He says she was pretty much the primary aggressor. It makes sense. They both said it. They said that the scratches on Brian's face were from her when she when she clawed at him and slapped him and pushed him or whatever. And the witnesses at the coffee shop said that he didn't push her back or he didn't hurt her, he didn't strike her. So there are stories, all their stories add up, right? So the police officers are like, what the hell do we do? In Utah, where they're apparently not allowed to leave a domestic abuse issue like this without one of them being charged. So they're like, we have to charge her. They go to tell the boyfriend, and they don't want to do this. I want to stress this. The cops in this situation, they seemed awesome, okay? They didn't want to lock her up. They didn't want to do, but they had to. They were doing their job. Go to the boyfriend, and they're like, okay, so if we charge Abby, the love of your life, woman you want to marry, with domestic abuse, what's the next step? Because we have to do that. We don't want to bring her to prison. We can bring her anywhere. We could bring her to some people you know. We could bring her to a hotel. Do you have money for a hotel? And he's like, no, we don't have money for a hotel. And they're like, okay, but we really need to separate you for the night. You're going to have a non-contact order in place. If either one of you try to reach out to each other, she's the one that's going to be charged. She's going to get in trouble. We need somewhere for her to go because you're both living in this van, and that's a problem for tonight because, no contact order. So the police officers, they bring it up twice. They ask him if he can get a hotel for her twice. And he says, no, we don't have the money for that. Remember, no money. Sure, maybe I buy that. Maybe they don't have money. They're living in a van. I don't think either of them have jobs. They put all this stuff in the YouTube. I haven't heard anything about jobs. I might be wrong. Don't quote me. Allegedly. Maybe they don't have any money. But your girlfriend, your fiance, the love of your life, is going to go to prison if you can't find the money to put her into a hotel. If you were in this situation, just think about this. If you were in this situation and you don't have the money, but you have parents that love you, she has parents that love her, wouldn't you be calling all of your family members, anyone you could think of, to get the money? Like, wouldn't you even be trying to? Not Brian. This part really, it just annoyed me, so I wanted to bring it up, okay? Especially since later, you'll see later. Anyway, back to the story. The officers decide that they'll let them go. No charges. I don't really understand how this happened because it seemed like they really had to do something because of what they witnessed. But like I said, the officers were pretty amazing, so whatever. I'm not going to hold them to anything. But this is around the time the phone thing comes back. You remember? Been paying attention? I know you have been. Brian said he didn't have one. His biggest fear was being abandoned. Remember? Police officers ask him what his phone number is. And the boy, magical little boy that he is, pulls a phone out of his pocket, goes through it, and gives him his number. And for a minute, I was like, well, maybe it's her phone, right? Maybe they share it. Maybe they share everything. They're in this tiny little van. They're minimalists. Who needs two if you spend all your time together? Well, they go over and they ask her for her phone number as well. And there's no, wait a minute, this is the same number. No. I mean, there is a little bit after she gives him, after he's like, hey, what's your phone number? They mute it, so I don't know, maybe it could have happened, but it's also been reported that the police have limited cell phone data for both Gabby and Brian, so it seems like 2 phones to me personally. So this was August 12th, right? Now we jump to the last stretch of August, on the 24th, when she FaceTimes her mother. She tells her mom that she's leaving Utah and heading to Tenton Range, Wyoming. This lines up with the last known actual sighting of Gabby on the 24th. Okay. She checks out of a hotel near Salt Lake City International Airport. Staff says she stayed there multiple days with Brian. Multiple days in the hotel. I just want to remind you, they couldn't afford a single tiny room for a single night to keep her out of prison, according to him. But, but whatever. All right, moving on. The next day, she texts her mom multiple times, and they believe because of the texts, she made it there to Tenton. On the 26th, on the 27th, there's more texts. The family believes she stayed at the park a few more days, or at least that was the plan. They get another text on the 30th that the family does not believe she wrote. It basically stated that there was no service in Yosemite, which I watched interviews with the family, and they were never told that was part of the plan. Her mother stressed that Yosemite was never somewhere they were supposed to go. All right, so we're catching up. September 1st, Brian returns to Florida, to his house, with the van, her van, the van in her name, it's her van, but without her, his fiancée, the love of his life, the woman he wanted to marry. Now, Gabby's parents are getting worried because they haven't heard from their daughter in some time. They try multiple times, according to them, to reach out to the Laundrie parents with no answer. They want to know where their daughter is. They want to know where their son is. The man that was meant to marry their kid, their little girl. And the people she was living with, yes, both Brian and Gabby were staying with his parents before they took off across the country. These people that were living with her can't bother to answer them. They file a missing persons report on September 11th. The police, understandably, go to the Laundrie house, and they're not met with a grieving boyfriend, fiancé, scared out of his mind because his future wife is missing. What are they met with? They're met with his parents and a letter telling them they can deal with their lawyers because they're not talking. They're not saying anything. Not a word. Not a single word about their missing future daughter-in-law. The lawyer did drop a statement, though. Basically, he's like, you know that saying, anything you say can be held against you? Well, that's true, so we're not going to say anything. This is how I win cases. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, okay. The warning that any statement made will be used against you is true, regardless of whether my client had anything to do with Miss Petito's disappearance. That's what he said. Actually, that's what he said. So basically, he told him not to say anything. Don't help find your fiancé. Not your problem. Not your problem, my dude. What do you care about these people? Your future in-laws. And how they might be feeling about their missing, not your problem, daughter. My opinion, allegedly. Anyway, that it's all my opinion. How that conversation might have gone. Potentially, allegedly. The police did take the van, and when the van was processed, they said, now hang on, let me get this straight. Okay, here we go. Quotation marks. There were materials in there. Period. Quotation marks. Wow, vague as shit. Okay, thanks. I'm also going to mention here that I noted during one of the interviews on the news reports that it said that the police or FBI had his phone. But I've seen conflicting reports that they don't have either his or Gabby's phone, and I've seen other reports that they have limited phone data. So I tried figuring it out which one is correct, but I can't. Nobody knows where the phones are, I guess, except for Brian, and he's not talking. So. Oh, I didn't mention another thing that bugged me. When the police came to the door the day Gabby's parents filed the missing persons report, I don't know how I forgot to mention this, Brian's parents already had the note from the lawyer, right? So when the knock came to the door, they they knew that the knock would eventually come to the door. Allegedly, makes sense, in my opinion. Moving on to today, the 18th of September. Police went to the Laundrie house, probably, maybe because they were invited because they walked right in. And when they came out, it was to file another missing persons report for Brian. Apparently, his family hasn't seen him in a few days. The police have set out searching for him. Gabby's family says there's only one person missing, though, and that's their daughter. Brian's on the run, and in my opinion, yeah, I agree with that statement. Now we're all caught up, I think. Yeah. Okay. This next portion of this video, take with a grain of salt, because everything I'm going to tell you now isn't actually documented. There's no news reports, really. Everything is like extra alleged, like even more so than I have been talking about. The first bit of information we're going to talk about is the sightings of Brian, all before, there's two of them before he goes back to Florida. One of them is from a TikToker, and the other one's just from a lady. Both of them have the same last name, which is really weird. I had to go back and I had to make sure they had the same last name, but they do. And I'm not going to say their names because they're just people. but it's easy to find them. So if you want to look it up, you can find TikToker or whatever. So one of them, the TikToker, says she met Brian at a rest area at Grand Teton on the 29th. He was by the showers. He wanted a ride to Jackson, and he offered to pay her $200 for it. So if this is true, he has $200. No money for the, prison thing, but, $200 for a 10-mile ride. And the other lady said she saw the van on the 25th. So there's that. Oh, also, the TikToker, he said that he had a fiance waiting for him in their van. And she was working on her social media stuff. Yeah, grain of salt, Okay, the theories. The first one, I hope winds up to be the case, but I doubt it considering how her family has reacted and how long it's been going on, and probably all of the charges she's racked up because of how much manpower has gone into looking for her and everything. But the first theory is that it's all a publicity stunt. That Gabby and Brian decided to stage her disappearance to get more clicks on her YouTube and Instagram and grow their channel. It's smart. I don't know if I believe the girl I saw in the body cam footage could put her family through that. I don't. I hope she's okay, and I hope she's well, and I want this to be the case, but I don't think so. The next ones go kind of hand in hand. Brian and Gabby were fighting, like even his sister says is normal of them to do. Maybe things got physical again and Brian reacts the way he always reacts, but this time, when he throws Gabby's things like he did before, he put the stuff on the back of the car so she can get it and she'd stay out of the van. Maybe when he put her stuff out there and he locked her out, he got in the van and he drove away. Maybe he lost her, can't find her when he comes back for her. Maybe he never went back for her at all. According to the body cam footage, this kind of makes sense. He himself says he does this kind of thing a lot, right? He needs distance between them. The other idea, which makes more sense if he's not cooperating at all, because why wouldn't he, especially if he has the body cam footage saying that she's the aggressor and that she's been violent with him and she beats him up or whatever. Why wouldn't he be like, yeah, I just left her somewhere. Here's where I left her. Doesn't make sense. And why wouldn't the lawyer tell him to do that? They have the footage of him saying this stuff, of the cops backing it all up. It doesn't. Anyway, the other theory that goes with this is that he reacted finally, and he's bigger, he's stronger than her, and he accidentally killed her. Maybe he freaked out, left her body somewhere in the park, texted her mother from her phone, and then went back to his own mom, where he immediately consulted with a lawyer and locked himself away behind mommy and daddy. Another theory I saw floating around, but I don't really believe, is that she never actually left Arches National Park, where this is around the same place where they were pulled over. The theory is she got lost there, because apparently a lot of people get lost there and they wind up dead. It's just that kind of area. Another name for it is Devil's Garden. But I don't believe this because her mother was texting her after this, and she knows her daughter. I don't believe this one. But I don't know, it could be. Another theory that was ruled out by the police, again, has to do with this park or being around this area, is linked to a couple that got murdered around there. But again, I think she left the area. I think that's everything. If there's anything I left out, anything you want to add, any theories you believe, let me know in the comments below. No victim shaming though. Also be respectful to everybody. I tried my best to be in this video. Let me know how I did.